When we talk about anti-aging, most people instantly think of skincare products, supplements, or some futuristic gene therapy. But what if I told you that the most powerful influence on your longevity, your biological aging process, might already be living inside you? I'm talking about your gut microbiome. These trillions of bacteria in your digestive tract aren't just breaking down food or helping you absorb nutrients. They're actually sending chemical signals throughout your body that influence everything from immune response to brain function. And yes, even the rate at which you age. Now here's the truth. Aging isn't just a matter of genetics. We used to think it was, but we now know that lifestyle, environment, and especially the composition of your gut microbiota play a huge role. And here's where it gets really interesting. Healthy aging has been directly linked to the diversity and balance of these gut bacteria. In other words, the more balanced your microbiome, the more resilient your body becomes against inflammation, cellular damage, fatigue, and disease. And as we age, the composition of our gut bacteria naturally shifts, but this shift isn't fixed, it can be reversed, and in many cases, optimized. Let's break it down. When your microbiome is functioning well, it produces critical compounds like short-chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation throughout the body, support the gut lining, and even promote neuroplasticity in the brain. That's right, your gut talks to your brain. In fact, it sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to it. This is the foundation of what's called the gut-brain axis, and it plays a major role in how you feel, think, recover, and age. Chronic inflammation is one of the key accelerators of aging. It breaks down tissues, weakens immunity, and causes cellular wear and tear that manifests as fatigue, brain fog, and slower recovery. But certain gut bacteria can regulate this inflammatory response, keeping your immune system balanced and reducing the internal stress on your cells. That's one of the most promising frontiers in anti-aging science. Learning how to support the microbiome in a way that slows or even reverses this inflammatory cascade. But most people are walking around with a microbiome that's undernourished, underdeveloped, or damaged. Years of processed foods, antibiotics, poor sleep, chronic stress, all of these deplete the very bacterial species that are critical for long-term health. The good news is your microbiome is highly malleable. It changes with what you eat, how you sleep, how often you fast, your exercise patterns, and even your exposure to nature and sunlight. Studies have looked at people in their 90s and even 100 people who have aged gracefully with high energy and minimal disease. And one thing keeps showing up. They have a gut microbiome that resembles that of a much younger person. More specifically, they tend to have higher microbial diversity and certain species that regulate energy, digestion, and inflammation efficiently. So when you hear that aging is inevitable, you have to ask, which kind of aging are we talking about? Because the data shows we can absolutely influence the trajectory of biological aging by supporting the trillions of microbes that power our system from the inside out. So if you feel tired all the time, if your immune system is always compromised, or if your mood fluctuates without clear reason, it's not just in your head. Your gut may be signaling distress, and that distress is aging you faster than you realize. But by changing your inputs, your food, your habits, your rhythms, you can change those signals. You can rebuild that inner ecosystem. The message here is simple. Your longevity begins in the gut. The earlier you recognize that, the sooner you can take action that will pay off, not just for years, but for decades. There's one bacterium that's been quietly gaining attention in the longevity and energy optimization space, and it's called Akkermansia muciniphila. Most people have never heard of it, but in the scientific community, it's become one of the most fascinating discoveries in gut microbiome research. This microscopic organism may hold the key to unlocking a longer, healthier, more energized life. And the most compelling part, you can start nurturing it today with a few simple changes. So what makes Akkermansia so unique? This bacterium resides in the mucus layer of your gut lining, and what it does is remarkable. It feeds on mucin, the very substance that helps maintain the integrity of your gut barrier. Now, you might think a microbe that eats your gut lining sounds harmful, but it's actually the opposite. Akkermansia helps stimulate the production of more mucin, strengthening that gut barrier and keeping harmful pathogens and inflammatory compounds out of your bloodstream. That protective effect is one of the most essential factors in preventing systemic inflammation, a major driver of aging and disease. When your gut lining is strong, your immune system doesn't go into overdrive. Your metabolism works more efficiently, nutrient absorption improves, and your energy stays consistent throughout the day. We've seen strong correlations between low levels of Akkermansia and obesity, insulin resistance, fatigue, and even cognitive decline. On the flip side, higher levels are associated with a leaner body composition, greater insulin sensitivity, and enhanced mitochondrial function, all of which are essential if you want to slow aging and stay vibrant. But here's the kicker: modern lifestyles are wiping this bacterium out. Poor dietary choices, lack of fiber, chronic stress, and overuse of antibiotics can drastically reduce the population of Akkermansia in your gut. And most people aren't doing anything to bring it back. It's not about adding more supplements or chasing every new anti-aging product. It's about building an environment inside your body where microbes like Akkermansia can thrive and work for you. So, how do you support this powerful bacterium? You start by feeding it what it loves: polyphenols and prebiotic fibers. Polyphenols, found in foods like pomegranate, cranberries, green tea, red onions, and dark berries, have been shown to significantly boost Akkermansia levels. These are compounds that not only nourish your gut bacteria, but also act as antioxidants, reducing cellular damage and supporting mitochondrial health. Then you add in prebiotic fibers, specifically ones like inulin, found in foods like garlic, leeks, asparagus, and chicory root. These fibers aren't digested by you, they're digested by your microbes. Think of them as fuel for Akkermansia. The more consistent you are in eating these types of foods, the more you shift your internal ecosystem toward one that promotes longevity. And it's not just about what you eat, it's also when and how. Fasting windows like intermittent fasting can enhance Akkermansia growth. It turns out that this microbe thrives during periods of fasting, helping to clean up the gut lining and boost metabolic flexibility. That's why protocols that include structured eating windows, say 8 hours of eating followed by 16 hours of fasting, can be extremely beneficial, not just for weight management, but for cultivating longevity, supporting bacteria. The goal here isn't perfection, it's consistency. You're not trying to overhaul your entire diet in one day. You're simply starting to make choices that build up your internal defense system. And Akkermansia is a key player in that system. The more of it you have, the stronger your gut barrier, the lower your inflammation, the steadier your energy, and the slower your aging process becomes. It's one of those rare cases in biology where something so small, so hidden, can have such an outsized effect on how you live, feel, and age. Most people think energy is all about caffeine, sleep, or willpower, but if you really want to understand why your energy rises or crashes, you have to zoom in to the microscopic level, to your mitochondria. These are the powerhouses inside every one of your cells, responsible for generating the energy you need to move, think, focus, and recover. And here's the part that most people overlook. Your mitochondria are heavily influenced by the health of your gut bacteria. Now that might sound like a stretch at first, but it's a direct connection. The bacteria living in your gut produce metabolites, chemical byproducts, that actually communicate with your mitochondria. One of the most important of these is a group called short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. When your gut microbes break down prebiotic fiber, they produce butyrate, which serves as fuel for the cells lining your colon, but also acts as a signaling molecule that improves mitochondrial efficiency. So better gut bacteria equals more butyrate, and more butyrate means more energy at the cellular level. This is the reason why so many people who clean up their diet and support their microbiome suddenly notice that their energy improves, not just in short bursts, but all day long. It's not magic, and it's not just about reducing sugar crashes. It's a direct biochemical shift happening in your body. Your cells are simply producing energy more efficiently. Now, think about the opposite. When your gut is inflamed, when your microbial diversity is low, when you're feeding the wrong bacteria or starving the beneficial ones, your mitochondria don't perform well. They get sluggish. They produce less ATP, the energy currency of the body, and that leads to fatigue, brain fog, poor recovery, and even accelerated aging. And it's not just about energy in the moment. It's about how your cells age over time. Mitochondrial dysfunction is one of the primary hallmarks of aging. So when you support your gut microbiome in the right way, you're not just optimizing your energy output for today. You're protecting your future. You're literally slowing down the clock on a cellular level. What you eat, how often you move, how well you sleep, how much stress you carry, all of these things impact the balance of your microbiome, which in turn sends instructions to your mitochondria. You're constantly broadcasting signals to your body about whether it's time to thrive or time to shut down. So if you're feeling tired all the time, don't just look at your schedule, look at your biology. Ask yourself, what kind of bacteria am I feeding? Are they energizing my system or slowing me down? Because once you make that shift, once you start feeding the right bacteria with fiber-rich foods, fermented options, polyphenols, and the right timing strategies, your body begins to respond. You'll feel that deep, sustainable energy that doesn't depend on caffeine or quick fixes. And that kind of energy is exactly what longevity is built on. If you want to support anti-aging at the deepest level, it's not enough to just avoid what's harmful. You need to actively nourish the systems that drive health and longevity from the inside out. And two of the most powerful tools we have for doing that are fermented foods and polyphenols. These aren't just trendy health foods, they're molecular tools that directly influence the makeup of your gut microbiome, which in turn affects everything from inflammation levels to brain function to how efficiently your body repairs itself. Fermented foods are incredibly rich in probiotic slave bacteria that replenish and diversify your gut. When you consume foods like kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, or yogurt with live cultures, you're not just eating, you're performing microbial therapy. You're introducing living organisms that compete against harmful bacteria, produce beneficial compounds like vitamins and neurotransmitters, and help create the kind of balanced ecosystem that supports youth, vitality, and resilience. One of the key ways these foods help is by reinforcing the integrity of the gut barrier. That barrier acts like a firewall between your digestive tract and the rest of your body. When it breaks down, something known as leaky gut, you get systemic inflammation. And inflammation is like an accelerant for aging. It wears down tissues, disrupts hormonal balance, and impairs your brain and immune system. Fermented foods help reseal that barrier by supporting the growth of bacteria that maintain it. Now, combine that with polyphenols and you have a powerful 1-2 punch. Polyphenols are compounds found in deeply colored plant foods: berries, dark chocolate, green tea, olives, red onions, pomegranates. They're natural antioxidants, but more importantly, they're prebiotic modulators. Your good bacteria feed on polyphenols. In fact, they can't fully activate the benefits of polyphenols unless those bacteria are present. So the relationship is mutual. Polyphenols feed your bacteria, and your bacteria convert polyphenols into biologically active substances that reduce oxidative stress, support blood flow, and protect your DNA. This is why people who consume diets high in plant diversity and fermented foods tend to have far lower biological ages compared to those who don't. They are building a foundation that supports better metabolism, higher energy levels, and reduced risk of chronic disease, not with extreme interventions, but with consistent daily choices. It's not about perfection or restriction. It's about inclusion, about adding the right inputs that make your internal system more adaptive and more youthful. You don't have to eat every superfood on the planet. You just have to start with 1 or 2 fermented foods daily and consistently include a few high polyphenol items throughout the week. Small changes at the molecular level compound into major shifts over time. And when you make those shifts consistently, the body knows what to do. It restores balance, it creates energy, it protects itself. That's the essence of anti-aging. Not just trying to avoid decline, but feeding your body what it needs to regenerate. If you're serious about energy, longevity, and slowing the aging process, you can't just focus on what to add. You also have to be brutally honest about what needs to go. Because certain habits and substances are actively destroying the very bacteria that protect your health. And if you keep feeding the wrong things into your system, it won't matter how many supplements you take or how clean your meals are. Your microbiome will remain compromised, and that damage compounds over time. One of the biggest offenders is ultra-processed food. These foods are engineered for taste, not biology. They're stripped of fiber, loaded with additives, and often filled with emulsifiers and preservatives that actively disrupt the balance of your gut bacteria. When you eat these regularly, you're not just failing to nourish your microbiome. You're creating an environment where harmful species dominate and beneficial ones die off. That imbalance sets the stage for chronic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and accelerated aging. Artificial sweeteners are another one to watch. They might seem like a smart swap for sugar, but many of them, especially saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame, have been shown to alter the gut microbiota in ways that spike insulin resistance and promote glucose intolerance. That means even though they have 0 calories, they can still push your body toward metabolic issues that make you feel tired, foggy, and older than you are. Chronic stress is just as damaging, and it often goes unnoticed. Stress hormones like cortisol can change the gut environment rapidly, reducing microbial diversity and damaging the gut lining. It doesn't take much, just a few days of poor sleep, high emotional stress, or intense overwork without recovery, and the bacteria that support your immune system, energy production, and mood begin to decline. This is why it's so critical to take a hard look at your inputs, what you eat, what you drink, what you expose your body to daily. If you're constantly surrounded by inflammatory triggers, your system can't repair. Your bacteria can't stabilize, and the entire network that supports vitality starts to erode. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be intentional. Reducing these microbiome killers, cutting back on processed foods, ditching artificial sweeteners, managing stress, and sleeping deeply isn't just a health choice, it's an investment in your future, because every input either supports aging or slows it. One of the most powerful and underrated ways to support your gut health, energy, and longevity is through daily movement, specifically low-intensity, consistent physical activity. We often think of exercise as something we do to burn calories or build muscle, but at a deeper level, movement acts as a biological signal. It tells your body that you are alive, engaged, and worth investing resources in. And one of the places that message lands most powerfully is in the gut. When you engage in regular physical movement, even something as simple as a brisk walk, it directly influences your gut microbiome. Studies have shown that exercise increases the diversity and richness of beneficial bacteria, especially those involved in producing short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. These are the same compounds that reduce inflammation, protect your gut lining, and feed your mitochondria. So, while you're moving your body, you're also fueling your internal systems at the microbial level. It doesn't take hours in the gym. In fact, some of the most longevity-supporting effects come from light, frequent activity throughout the day. Walking, stretching, standing, cycling, even taking the stairs. These small inputs act like signals that stimulate circulation, improve digestion, and support microbial balance. When you move, your intestines move too. That promotes better gut motility, which prevents the stagnation that can lead to bloating, toxin buildup, and dysbiosis. And then there's the hormonal impact. Movement helps regulate cortisol, insulin, and other key hormones that influence how you store fat, how you sleep, how you feel, and how fast you age. Regular movement supports metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between burning carbs and fats efficiently, and that, in turn, lowers inflammation and supports healthy energy production throughout the day. The connection between exercise and gut health is bidirectional. As your microbiome becomes stronger through movement, it helps regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. That's why regular physical activity improves mood, sharpens focus, and builds emotional resilience. It's not just about mental willpower. It's microbial chemistry responding to motion. So think of movement not as a task to check off, but as a daily conversation with your biology. You're telling your body, let's thrive. You're reinforcing that feedback loop between action and adaptation, between motion and energy, between physical discipline and microbial harmony. And that loop is what slows aging at the deepest level. The science is clear, and the path is right in front of us. Aging isn't just about genetics or time, it's about choices. It's about the environment you create inside your body every single day. By supporting your gut microbiome with the right bacteria, fueling it with fermented foods and polyphenols, eliminating what disrupts it, and aligning your daily movement with how your body was designed to function, you're not just adding years to your life. You're adding life to your years. This isn't about chasing perfection. It's about becoming deliberate, consistent, and aware. Because when you align your biology with nature's blueprint, your energy rises, your mind sharpens, and your body starts working for you, not against you. That's the truth about energy and longevity, and you can start doing it today.